Evening, y'all. Thought I'd give it a try today. Actually, tonight. This is a little out of my comfort zone. Normally, I do my videos during the day, but I'm trying this evening. And it's under a little bit different circumstances as would normally be. I've had a few drinks and eating a gummy. I feel pretty good. Yes, I'm in my usual achy pain mode. The chest, the pain just doesn't ever go away entirely. I hate to say it, but that's a fact. It's always here. But given that I've had a little recreational time here this evening, I feel a little better about it. And I thought maybe I would take a few moments to put together a quick little video here. Don't know if I'm going to actually even post it. But this is me, as happy as I can possibly be at this moment in time. Simple. Anyways, I've had some thoughts the last couple of 3 days. It's been a couple of days since I last posted. I've been doing a lot of research and soul searching, trying to come up with a reason, a purpose, a motivation, something for which I want to do this. I mean, yes, I want to put myself out there. I've always wanted to. I have that performative nature about me. I can't help that. But I don't want to do it and have it be an entire waste of time. I don't think that I'm that interesting a persona that I can I'm not a comedian. I don't know that I have anything about me, personally, that is all that exciting or interesting. Therefore, I want to put together something that I feel like y'all will be interested in hearing about from the likes of me. Now, there are things that I'm interested in. There's been a lot of things I've done in my life. I've led a colorful existence. Colorful existence. How's that for enunciation? There was a time where I thought I was going to be a rock and roll star. I was a singer in a band. Macbeth was our name. We went so far as to cut a 45. This is back in the days of vinyl, 1978. It was just a little small independent record that never went anywhere or saw anything beyond a couple of towns in the immediate area in which I lived. But it was something. It was my foray into being something more than just me. I've always had delusions of grandeur, I guess you'd say. I've wanted to be something more than I am. But at the same time, I'm a very private person. So there's that dichotomy, that duality. On one hand, I want to have my audience, people that like to listen and watch and see what I do, whatever that may be. At that point in time in my life, it was singing, it was being in my band. Freight Train was the name of our single. That's what I was known for. I was the singer with Macbeth, and our song was Freight Train, and I didn't mean to come this far with on the other side. But that was my claim to fame. Up until 2021, my age at that time, I was the old man in the band. The other guys were all in their teens, maybe 20 at the most. That didn't last forever, however, as it turned out, at that same time, I had a girlfriend, a very serious girlfriend relationship, something in my life. She ended up being my first wife about a year and a half, 2 years later. We went through all kinds of hell before then. Much of it self-induced, but that's neither here nor there at this point. It forced a situation between me and my bandmates. They told me in no uncertain terms that it was either them, the band, or her. Reason for their ultimatum was because she and I had decided, come hell or high water, we were going to get married. Whether it was a wise choice or not, I decided to go with my heart and to marry her. Needless to say, I was gone from Macbeth. As it turns out, they lasted another year or so with several different singers and in a couple of different incarnations. But the band with which I was part was no longer. And she and I ended up running off a couple of times because she was a young teenage girl. We ended up running off a couple of times, and the second time we stayed gone. And in that year or so after we ran away, we got married. As soon as she turned 18, as a matter of fact. We stayed married for several years. And it was an interesting several years. We decided after a year or two of living in New York, actually New Jersey, but it was West New York, New Jersey, right across the river from Manhattan. We lived there for about a year and a half. In any case, we lived in West New York, New Jersey for about a year and a half. And by this time, it was like 1980. We saw lots of television that promoted the modern Western lifestyle in Texas, Dallas. J.R. Ewing and Bobby and all that was, it seemed futuristic almost. And being that we had no reason, nothing in particular that was going to tie us, or did tie us to where we were, we decided to move out west. Caught Amtrak train and went west to Texas. Ended up in Dallas and stayed with some relatives or extended family for a while. It was the sister of my uncle's wife, my aunt. Her sister and a boyfriend lived in Dallas, or just outside of Dallas, in Richardson was the name of the town. And we went to stay with them and eventually ended up moving there. And spent the next several years living and working around the Dallas metro area. So I grew, at that point in time, quite familiar with the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. All the good and bad that could be bound to do there. It was a place to be. At that point in time, it was the early 80s up through 1990, let's say a good 10-year period was when Dallas was happening. And I spent quite a bit of that time right there. And went through many trials and tribulations. And had quite the time for myself. Quite a time for myself. It also went to pieces. Completely. Lost it. My first wife and I had met in high school. She was my first true love. The one that took my heart and ended up breaking it. But that was mainly my fault. One has to be honest. I brought it upon myself. with my actions. So I don't hold her to blame whatsoever. It was me. But at any point, at any rate, when she finally, in 1985, decided that she was done with me, she was able to get support and help from her immediate family, mother and father, and such. She was able to elicit their help and managed to do quite well for herself. I wasn't so fortunate. I'd cut ties with my family primarily. And they weren't really aware of what I was going through, what was happening in my life. And that's how I wanted it. But it didn't do me any good. I thought I was being a tough guy and managing on my own. But all I was doing was going further and further down a hole, a bottomless pit. And that's something that we'll talk about a little bit further in a short while.